Hello there, this is Welsh ASMR 82. Hey, how you doing? So in today's video we are going to talk about the World Cup. Obviously, we're going to look at all the results so far and I'll go through some talking points. I've watched every match, at least the highlights, if not the full game, and I'll talk to you about my sort of early thoughts on some of the favourites, my reactions to some of the more surprising results, decisions, substitutions, all that crazy stuff. So I hope you liked the video. I hope you're enjoying the World Cup. And yeah, I didn't wait a full round one I was going to, and I thought, no, this is just too much to talk about, I'll forget it. So just let's get going. Even more content for you guys as well then. Okay, so opening match, Mexico 2, South Africa 0. 3 red cards, despite there not really being any bad fouls. What did I think of this opening match? Well, opening day is always difficult, and it was quite warm, but I think my initial, bearing in mind that I am a supporter of Mexico, I was a little underwhelmed. I think South Africa played really poorly. I was expecting a lot more from them. But as the home nation, I actually expected a little bit more from Mexico. Yes, the result, fantastic. They're like, in this new version of the World Cup, they're practically through already almost with a win, as long as I don't see them losing heavily to either of the other teams in the group. But was I impressed? No, I wasn't really. I thought Quiñones was very good. I thought Jimenez had a very good game as well. I liked some of the runs from deep from particularly Gutierrez. But I was quite disappointed with Alvarado. I just don't remember him. I mean, Quiñones was more running infield. So I expected Gallardo to get to the byline and get crosses in, take on his man. Just never did it. Every time the ball got to Alvarado, who I was expecting quite a lot from, he passed it backwards. He never took on his man. Gutierrez did get into the box but was wasteful. Yeah, I was quite underwhelmed really by the attacking prowess. They were down a man, and I thought that they would, Mexico would go for it, and they looked kind of, I don't know, just a bit, I don't want to say lazy, but just, yeah, if you compare their energy levels and their enthusiasm to South Korea, for example, or Iran or New Zealand, who I've really enjoyed the tempo that they've played. Again, I know it was hot, I know it was early on in the day, I know there's nerves, but when you're 2-0 up and you're like cruising, they kind of just passed it around and the tempo's really slow. Yeah, so I'd like to see more from Mexico in the next game. That's my takeaway from that match, at least. Compared to the USA even, I just was thinking about teams that really impressed me. The USA absolutely went for it. We'll talk about that in a second. Okay, South Korea. Oh, I stayed up to watch this, and I'm so glad I did. It was a really good match. If you're not sure when I said I stayed up, because most of the people watching this channel now are from the States, have a look at the times. So Argentina's on at 2 a.m, Austria's on at 5 a.m, England are on at 9 o'clock, that's midnight, 3 a.m, Mexico are on at 2 a.m, so I'm going to miss that one. Brazil are on at 1:30, Turkey again are on at 4, that's the second time they've been on at 4 a.m, so I haven't been able to watch them yet. Ecuador 1 a.m, Japan 5, so it is kind of tricky for me to get to watch as many matches as I'd like to watch, but I did stay up for South Korea because they are a team that I absolutely love, and they didn't disappoint. I thought their energy levels were fantastic. Czechia did exactly what we thought they were going to do. They scored 2 from set pieces with headers, amazing headers. Fortunately for South Korea, the second one was ruled offside, which was correct. Korea really impressed me. They were passing around in like really neat triangles. They were making a long diagonal passes across the pitch, playing it between themselves. I really thought that, well, Hwang had a fantastic match, but Lee Kang-in of PSG looked a cut above on the pitch. He looked absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more from South Korea. I think that my original thought was Czechia top, Mexico second, South Korea third. Based on the first result and the first match performance alone, if they stay that way and don't change, then I'd see Korea first, Mexico second, Czechia third, but nothing has changed my mind on South Africa just yet, unfortunately. I was hoping South Africa would play a little bit more like Mamelodi Sundowns in the Club World Cup. Seems they've got quite a lot of players from there, but no, they just didn't really have any passing rhythm. I was really shocked. Maybe it was opening day nerves. Let's see what happens in the next match. Okay, next up was Canada-Bosnia. I had to persuade myself to watch this, knowing in the back of my mind that Wales could have been, not should have, because Bosnia beat us fair and square, could have been in this one. So I was actually rooting for Bosnia because I thought, well, you know, they beat us fair and square, they beat Italy, and they're representing us, so I thought, let's just support Bosnia. They also played this like really emotional clip before the kickoffs about like all the Bosnian war, and so I was very emotionally invested in Bosnia getting a result. Then they scored, and I thought, yeah, you know, I thought they would do well in this tournament. Canada just kind of were very nervous in the first half. Bosnia controlled it perfectly, and I think I'm going to use that expression, Bosnia scored too early, because then they just sat back, and I don't really think they had a shot on target or even a goal for like half an hour, 45 minutes after they scored. So then Canada came into it and could have won it, to be honest, at the end. They had a very tepid first half, but second half they were all over Bosnia and definitely could have scored two. So that was a very interesting match. A game of two halves, or at the minute what we're seeing in the World Cup, of course, is 4 quarters. USA, I didn't stay up to watch this because it was very early in the morning. Congrats to USA. They looked fantastic, gotta be honest, and Pulisic looked absolutely amazing on the left-hand side. Paraguay, so I got lambasted in my video where I talked about the predictions when I said Paraguay would come last in this group. I was told by someone that, you know, I didn't know what I was talking about and Paraguay would be top, and they were steamrolled by the USA in this match. I did think that Paraguay could have won this match. I think they definitely could have got a draw on paper, but I don't know what happened on the day. They were just all over the place. They couldn't deal with the runners, the energy, the width. USA were just absolutely superb. Balogun got 2. Dest looked really good. The midfield unit were excellent. Obviously, well, basically, look, everyone had a good game. I was very sort of deceived by some of the players that I've heard of. You know, people like Sanabria, Bobadilla, Almiron had a pretty poor game, really. He did a dive as well in the box to try and get a penalty. So yeah, I was quite underwhelmed by Paraguay. I wonder what will be the reaction in the next match. Will we see the proper Paraguay? Because I think they were just really surprised by how quickly USA came out of the blocks and how attacking they were. That's what I was expecting from Mexico in their opener, and from Canada really, but Canada did get there in the second half. The USA were like it from the beginning. So 4-1. It's the first time they scored 4 in a World Cup, I think, and I also think it's the first time they've had the same player score twice in the same match, but I might just be making that one up, I'm not sure. Okay, the first of a couple of shocks. I was watching the scoreline. I was out, and so I was like looking at it on my phone, and it was like 95 minutes, or 91, 92 minutes. I was like, oh, it's 1-0. I really think Switzerland could have scored more, but at that point in time, they had like 60 possession, 3.2 expected goals, 26 shots on goal. I was like, oh, you know, fair enough. And then I happened to check it like half an hour later after the match had finished, and it was 1-0, and I was like, you are kidding me. There's an expression that people who play Football Manager use, and it's they've been FM'd. Because that's what happened. They basically had this goalkeeper play out of his skin, and he's not the only goalkeeper who's had a very good week. We'll come back to that in a minute. Cape Verde, I'm looking at you. So yeah, the goalkeeper had an absolutely fantastic match, and Switzerland were totally sucker punched at the end with a header on the 94th minute. So I don't think it's going to really scupper Switzerland's long-term sort of expectations in this, but I think it may either spur them on in the next match to do better or whatever. But yeah, Qatar getting their first point in a World Cup, absolutely brilliant for them. At the time of recording, I think all of the Asian teams have, because Iraq are about to play Norway, and I'm going to go downstairs and watch it in a second. But I think all the Asian teams are undefeated so far. So that's a really good sign for Asian football. And I watched all of this match, obviously. It was an okay match, but in terms of a spectacle for the neutrals, it was okay. In terms of like how interesting and seeing the progress of Morocco, and how the Brazil that I grew up watching, thinking they were always going to get to a final, always the favourites to win it, and now sort of labouring to a draw against Morocco, who that was unthinkable 20 years ago. Obviously, I think it's a sign of two things. One, that African football has progressed so much, and the other that Brazil hasn't sort of progressed at the same rate. They've almost regressed. So Vinicius obviously had that fantastic goal, but I think that Saibari's goal, it was equally fantastic for different reasons for Morocco as well. With a little bit of shoddy defending by Gabriel, of all players. I was very shocked that he was caught out by the run. So yeah, I wasn't huge. I consider that a shock. I do not consider Brazil-Morocco a shock. I think Morocco are just doing exactly what we thought they would do. They are a very high quality team. Okay, on to the Scots. You did it. I didn't stay up to watch it, I'm sorry. I knew it would be very, very nervy. I knew that you would probably get the win, but it would be quite scary towards the end. And when I watched the highlights, that's basically what happened. If you're interested, if you're in the UK, the BBC are doing something called no spoiler highlights. So they've created a new web page where you can just Google no spoiler website BBC, and you just have the thumbnail, and it doesn't tell you the score or give you a clue about anything that happened. So I wake up in the morning, go straight onto the web page, click on the matches overnight that I've missed, and it's a sort of 9-10 minute video with a lot of the different things that have happened, not just goals. And yeah, it's really, really good because it doesn't spoil it beforehand. So Scotland got that victory they needed. Obviously two massive games coming up now, Morocco and Brazil, but that win means that there's always a chance that they could be one of the best third place teams and get out of the group, which would be fantastic. Obviously Haiti, hats off to them, they gave it their all. Stats wise it was pretty equal, and a deflected shot from McGinn got the winner. I'm glad it did, but I'm sorry for Haiti obviously, and they obviously showed that they're no pushover either. Okay, shock number 2. I did not see that coming. I told you Turkey would be top of this group. I'm not sure they can be top of the group now. Let me just think about who's in the group. USA. I think it's going to be really tough. They're going to have to beat the USA. So yeah, you know, there's all this mercurial talent for Turkey, Turkey, and Australia had the tactics and the game plan, and they executed it to literal perfection. If I tried that on Football Manager, I probably would have done it to that extent 1 out of 20 times, maybe 30 times. It was just absolutely spot on. They had a really deep defence. They defended like absolute gods. And those massive giants in the middle, So basically from the highlights, this was on at 4 in the morning, so I didn't watch it. I really wanted to. So basically, they had little old Atacolu, who, let me just show you, is 173 centimetres. I am 10 centimetres taller than him, and I'm only just 6 foot. You got Cameron Burgess of Swansea, 194 centimetres. Harry Suta, excuse me, 198 centimetres, and Shakati, who was 190. And what were they doing? They were throwing in crosses from the wide men to try and get the ball to Atacolu with these 3 giants. And the other thing they were doing is they were shooting from distance. Let me show you their distance shooting. Look at that. So basically, this is the shot from Seki Celik. Obviously a terrible angle. But only the ones that are coloured in were on target, so only 2 on target from there. The reason being, obviously, is because there are about 7 Australians de dieu blocking the ball, as well as the goalkeeper. So then what do? Well, they go around the sides, they deliver it in, it gets headed out. So then they start shooting from out here. So they had an incredible 30 shots on goal, 8 of which were on target, and 72% possession. Australia didn't care how much possession they had, they just counter-attacked. And with those really 2 quick guys up front, they scored. And look at that, they actually scored 1. But obviously their chances were very like 1-on-1s and 2-on-2s and stuff. So yeah, their tactics worked absolutely perfectly. So well done to them. What a shock. And Turkey have basically got to make sure that they get a result in their next match, which is against Paraguay. Otherwise, they are struggling, which I'm very, very shocked at. Next up, no shocks here, Germany, Curacao. I loved it. I was in the pub watching it when Comenencia's goal equalised. Then we had that water break, which is turning into like some American-style quarter, 3-minute tactical huddle. And then Germany just kind of went for it. If they hadn't had that break, I really think that Curacao, who had a chance immediately before the water break, might have not lost as badly. I'm not saying they would have drawn, but I just think that the water break really, really did not help them. And don't get me wrong, obviously for health and safety it's absolutely important that you have a water break, but that's not what's happening in this World Cup. It's a water break regardless. And yeah, it's become quite a controversial thing here in the UK, because obviously in America they're having an ad break at this point in time as well, which we don't have. So yeah, that was obviously Curacao scored their first goal in a World Cup, in their first World Cup against Germany. Dick Advocaat, the oldest manager in the history of World Cups. Loads of different things to talk about, but Germany looked absolutely incredible. Loved this game. The first half was boring because both teams were like trying to go. Netherlands were like, you've beaten Brazil recently. You know, I'm a little bit scared of you. And Japan were like, if we sort of go forward a little bit too much, then we're going to be destroyed on the break with these wingers that they've got. Well, their front 3 actually, with Donimala up front as well. So the first half was very tentative, super boring, and then the second half just kind of kicked into life. As soon as that first goal went in from Van Dijk, I thought to myself, here we go, and I actually said to my Dutch mate, it's going to be 2-2. So then Nakamura scored in the 57th minute. Somerville, who's only had 5 caps, scored on the 64th, and I texted him again and I said it's going to be 2-0, it's going to be 2-0, and then Kamada scored on the 88th minute. Absolutely fantastic. I still think both teams are going to go quite far in the competition. Super entertaining second half, lots of quality. Yeah, really, really happy to have watched that match. Okay, Ivory Coast, this shocked me. Now, maybe it shouldn't have, because actually Ivory Coast's wingers and their sort of attacking players are really good. And Ecuador, who I said will get really far in the competition, I got battered in the comment section on that video. They can't score. They had some fantastic chances. They hit the post twice. They really were the better team, but they lost. And they've had all these draws recently, all these 0-0s, and it looked very much like that was going to happen. And yeah, Ivory Coast scored with Ahmad on the 90th minute, and you could just see them kind of looking around, the Ecuadorians, going, oh, that's not supposed to happen. We're supposed to draw 0-0. So yeah, that's really scuppered their plans to do well in this group. Ivory Coast, well done. Another bit of a shocker. Shocker for several reasons. One, Sweden scored 5 goals in a World Cup. The second one, Tunisia, were so disorganised and absolutely woeful. And so I read this. There's a local newspaper here in Wales, and it gave me this bit of news because obviously Sweden is managed by Graham Potter, who managed Swansea, and Tunisia was managed by Lamouchi, was his name Lamouchi, who used to manage Cardiff. And apparently they've sacked him. That's right, they've sacked a manager after the first game of the actual World Cup group stage. Absolutely unbelievable. I know that was a terrible performance. But yeah, that was a really, really odd decision to make. I was actually thinking it was a joke. So yeah, apparently they've sacked their manager. So total disarray for Tunisia, unfortunately. I couldn't tell because Tunisia was so bad, and I was just watching the highlights. I couldn't tell if Sweden were literally, like, I mean, they do have on paper an absolutely amazing attacking lineup. Are we taking them seriously now under Graham Potter? Are we thinking that they could challenge the Netherlands and Japan to get to the top of the group? Or were Tunisia just absolutely insanely bad? Can't tell. We'll find out in the next match because I think the Netherlands have got them. Another shocker. I watched this all the way through. I was wearing my Spain shirt, and actually by the end I was like, oh, come on Cape Verde, I think you can do this. Because even I was like, this is a momentous occasion. So yeah, Cape Verde 0-0 with Spain. Truly deserved. Absolutely incredible defending. And I think it shows the #1 weakness of Spain, who I said would win the World Cup. And that is, if they don't have those 2 wide players, Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams, they will not win the World Cup. So they need to get those back and fit, because they're both a little bit unfit, as quickly as possible, because they had no width, no pace, no desire. It was very Spanish. I've lived in Spain, I told you. It was very Spanish. It was like, it'll come, don't worry, mañana, like, it'll come, just don't panic. And yeah, they just lacked urgency. And I think it was amazing for Cape Verde. Well done to them. Belgium, Egypt. I thought Egypt were going to win this match. It was an own goal that saved them in the end. Ashur's strike was absolutely amazing. There were a couple of other opportunities for Egypt as well. From Ashur as well. He was like 1-on-1 and it didn't even go up for a corner. It was such a bad shot. But Belgium in the first half were just terrible. And in the second half looked a lot better when Lukaku came on. But the Egyptian defence just completely dealt with Doku. I was convinced that no one could do that. I came into this World Cup thinking that Doku was one of the star players, and they made him look average. They knocked him about, they got to the ball before him, before it reached his feet. They tackled him when it did get to him, they closed him down 2-on-1, and then when he did have a shot, he just skied it over the bar back like old Doku rather than this season's Doku. So yeah, interesting to see what happens with Belgium in the next match. See if they improve. But Egypt, I was super impressed with. Saudi Arabia, Uruguay, another shock. Uruguay, Marcelo Bielsa is super unpopular, and he's supposed to be like all action. Everyone is like, doing whatever. There was no action. The first half was shambolic from Uruguay, and Saudi Arabia rightfully kind of came out to the blocks. It took them about half an hour to realise that Uruguay weren't doing anything, and then they were like, do you know what, I think we can actually double up an attack. So their wing-backs started joining the attack, and they had this 5-minute spell, scored from the corner, and then Uruguay went in at half-time, came out, obviously they've been screamed at, put thank God, and I don't understand why he didn't do this in the first place. Put Valverde in the middle, which is where he needs to be, and then obviously it was just chaos. Then Nunez came off because he hasn't played a game since February. He must be so unfit. They haven't played any friendlies, they just looked really off the pace. So hopefully they'll learn from that, because yeah, I was really disappointed. But well done Saudi Arabia, keeping up the record of all the Asian teams doing well, as did Iran. I stayed up to watch this one as well, and I was so pleased I did, because one of the commentators said it might be the game of the World Cup so far. It was so good. Both teams just went for it. It was 2-2, just of Motherwell. Rezayan, who I remember really well because he scored the second goal against Wales in the last World Cup, and Mohebi with a lovely header from Rezayan's cross. They just literally didn't stop for the entire match. They just ran, chance, ran, chance, ran. It was counter-attack, counter-attack, counter-attack. I couldn't take my eyes off it. It was absolutely superb, and both teams definitely deserved the draw. I don't think it helps either one, but in the long run, I'm just so pleased that they both put on an absolutely fantastic performance. And yeah, there was a really, really good match. The link-up play between Elijah and Chris Wood was superb, and Rezayan did everything for the Iranian team. So yeah, really entertaining match. And we can see now that this match has finally finished. I came up on the 90th minute mark to make this video. He was all but done at that point. Senegal missed a chance, oh my god, from like literally 5 yards out. Oh, Senegal did get a goal at the end. Okay, it was 2-0 when I came upstairs, so I missed 2 goals, but... And Alan Shearer on commentary was going absolutely nuts that Mbappe didn't get a penalty. I'm going to put my foot in it here and say it wasn't a penalty. I watched the angles quite a few times, and it looks like Mbappe dived. So, no one else on the stream thought that, apart from the referee. So apparently it's just me and the referee that think that he didn't actually touch him. I think it was Sadio Mane with the tackle. There's an angle that shows he doesn't touch the ball, but it also shows that he doesn't touch Mbappe's ankle either. Whereas from the other angle it looks like he has. But yeah, there's this one angle that shows daylight between his foot and Mbappe's foot, and then he just kind of falls over. So I'm not going to die on that hill, but I'm pretty sure it's the correct decision. But everyone on commentary was like flabbergasted. So yeah, I think it was the right decision anyway. Senegal did really put up a good fight against France. France in the first half looked really pedestrian. They were catching them on the break. Nicholas Jackson scored a lovely goal, but it was offside correctly. Yeah, so France did pick it up in the second half. Mbappe woke up because his touch was terrible in the first half, and their wing-backs were like trying to inverted wing-backs, trying to cut in, but then they weren't anywhere near on the break, so they were outnumbered. So they worked it out in the second half at least. And then I'm going to watch this Norway team that everyone's raving about against Iraq in a minute, and that's where we are. So matches tomorrow, we've got England coming up and Argentina, Portugal as well, and then we'll be back to match day 1 after we've seen Uzbekistan and Colombia, Ghana and Panama. So we're nearly past the first round. I'm not used to having so many matches and so many days between each game per team, you know. Anyway, been really impressed by a couple of teams so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing how things change in the second matches as we get to them now later on into the week. Lots more videos to come, including more sticker videos, so keep an eye out for all of those. But for the moment, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment with how you've been finding the World Cup so far. I'm really enjoying it. And subscribe to make sure you don't miss any videos. Okay, thanks so much, and take care. Thank you.